Hey there, and welcome to this explainer on Module 05 of our Cash and Treasury Management course, Cash Forecasting and Working Capital. So in our last module, Module 04, we really got into the weeds of the bank reconciliation, right? We were meticulously verifying exactly how much cash we had at a specific point in time. We basically proved, okay, here's what we have in the bank today. But that brings up a massive, honestly kind of existential question for any business. How do we actually know we're going to have enough cash to survive tomorrow? I mean, really think about it. Module 04 proved our cash balance today, but how do we know we can make payroll next month? Well, here's a pretty terrifying reality. A business can literally be wildly profitable on paper and still run completely out of cash. Crazy, right? If your customers are dragging their feet and paying slow, or if massive vendor invoices suddenly come due before those customer payments actually arrive, a highly profitable company can suddenly find itself literally unable to pay its own employees. And that right there is the exact problem a cash forecast solves. Think of it like the company's early warning radar system. It allows the business to actually manage its future, rather than just constantly reacting to it. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll start with Section 1, Beyond Profit, Forecasting Cash. Then, 2, the 13-week forecast, Planning Ahead. 3, Working Capital, Short-Term Health. 4, DSO and DPO, Speed Matters. 5, the Cash Conversion Cycle, Efficiency Measure. And finally, 6, Downstream Impact, Your Daily Role. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Beyond Profit, Forecasting Cash. So there's this really fundamental paradox we have to wrap our heads around right out of the gate. Profit and cash are absolutely not the same thing. Profit is just a measure of financial performance over a period of time, right? It's earned the exact moment a sale is made. But cash is what is actually sitting there in the bank account, and it only arrives when the customer finally decides to pay up. If you aren't tracking the actual physical cash flowing in and out, well, a profitable business can hit a brick wall. A reliable forecast answers a super critical question. How much cash are we going to have next week, next month, and even 3 months from now? With that kind of heads up, a company can do things like draw on a credit line early, or maybe delay a really big purchase just to avoid a totally avoidable cash crunch. Moving right along to Section 2, the 13-week forecast, Planning Ahead. Let's look at how this actually builds a safety net for the business. The 13-week rolling forecast is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a week-by-week estimate of the cash coming in and going out over roughly one business quarter. So step 1 is gathering the inputs. For inflows, we're looking at expected customer payments, usually based on the accounts receivable or AR aging report. For outflows, we pull vendor payments from the accounts payable or AP schedule, plus stuff like payroll and taxes. Now, step 2 is absolutely crucial. This thing must be updated every single week. Step 3 is comparing the actual cash flows that happened against what we originally predicted. And finally, step 4, well, this is where the magic happens, investigating the variances. When the forecast is wrong, and sometimes it will be, digging into why it was wrong is exactly how the business improves its planning for the next time around. Next up is Section 3, Working Capital, Short-Term Health. So what exactly is working capital? Simply put, it's the difference between what a company owns in the short term, meaning its current assets, and what it owes in the short term, which are its current liabilities. If this number is positive, it means the company has way more short-term resources than short-term obligations, which is a really healthy spot to be in. But negative working capital? No way. That means the company owes more right now than it actually holds. And trust me, that is a massive flashing warning sign for the business. And this brilliantly illustrates the 3 daily levers we can actually pull to manage that working capital. First up is accounts receivable, which is the money our customers owe us. We absolutely want to speed up those collections, because every day cash goes uncollected is a day we can't use it. Second is inventory. Think about it. Goods just sitting around on a dusty shelf literally tie up our cash, so we want to reduce that excess inventory. Third is accounts payable, the money we owe our vendors. Here, the goal is actually the exact reverse. We want to delay payment, while strictly staying within our agreed terms, of course, just to preserve our own cash for as long as possible. Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, DSO and DPO, Speed Matters. I want you to think of these 2 metrics kind of like a giant seesaw. DSO, or Days Sales Outstanding, measures the cash coming in. Lower is definitely better here because it means we're collecting our money faster. On the other side, we have DPO, or Days Payable Outstanding, which measures cash going out. Higher is generally better here because it means we're holding onto our cash a lot longer before paying it out. So fast in, slow out. That right there is the absolute rhythm of really healthy cash management. Let's look a little closer at DSO. It basically measures how long it takes, on average, to actually collect a payment after we issue an invoice. A rising DSO? That's a major red flag. It means customers are taking way longer to pay us. So, how does a junior accountant directly impact this? Well, imagine a customer pays their invoice, but someone on the AR team just leaves that cash sitting around in the unapplied account. The system still thinks the customer owes us money. This artificially inflates the DSO. So then Treasury sees this high DSO and absolutely panics, thinking collections are completely failing, all because a payment just wasn't applied promptly. Clean, accurate AR work keeps that DSO reflecting reality. Now, for the other side of the seesaw, DPO. This measures how long we take to pay our own vendors. Now, extending DPO strategically to hold onto our cash is super smart. But there is a firm boundary here, and that's our payment terms. The AP team's job is to pay accurately and right on time, not early and definitely not late. Look, paying early just wastes our cash advantage unless we're getting a nice early payment discount. But simply ignoring invoices and paying late, that is terrible practice. It damages vital vendor relationships, racks up nasty late fees, and honestly, it ruins the company's credit. We pay exactly when it's due. All right, now we arrive at Section 5, the Cash Conversion Cycle Efficiency Measure. The cash conversion cycle is this awesome master metric that basically combines inventory time, AR collection time, and AP payment time all into one single measure of efficiency. A shorter cycle means we're turning our investments into cash incredibly quickly. But a longer cycle, that means our cash is essentially trapped. It's stuck in unsold stock, unpaid customer invoices, or mismanaged payables. For anyone out there processing daily transactions, I want you to really hear this. Every single unresolved customer dispute or invoice error literally lengthens this cycle and traps the company's cash. Bottom line, accuracy equals speed, and speed equals cash. Let's bring this right down to your desk in Section 6. Downstream impact, your daily role. Let's review some common yet honestly pretty dangerous mistakes. The biggest mistake a junior accountant can make is assuming cash forecasting is just a treasury problem. It absolutely is your job too. Unresolved, unapplied cash and late postings directly poison the forecast data. Second, never ever confuse profit with cash. Always remember that a totally profitable business can still face a devastating cash crisis if its receivables aren't being managed properly. And third, watch out for that urge to just pay invoices early. It might feel like you're being super efficient, clearing out your queue, but unless there's a discount, you are needlessly sending the company's cash out the door way too soon. To prevent those mistakes from happening, we rely on some key cash controls. First, the forecast must be refreshed weekly, because honestly, if it's not current, it's really just a guess. We also have to regularly review the AR aging report to make sure our collection estimates are grounded in reality. When actual cash flows differ from our forecast, we've got to investigate those variances immediately to figure out what happened. And finally, the company enforces a strict minimum cash balance policy. Think of this as our absolute floor. If the forecast shows us dipping anywhere near that minimum balance, the business then has the actual time to take action, like drawing on some credit or maybe deferring a payment. I really want to leave you with this thought to wrap up everything we've covered today. You aren't just processing transactions. You are feeding the company's radar. Seriously, every single time you clear unapplied cash, ensure an invoice is perfectly accurate, or process a payable on its exact due date, you are providing the critical, clean data that Treasury relies on to steer the entire business away from a cash crisis. You are literally helping keep the lights on. So now that we've seen how our daily work feeds this living, breathing cash forecast, consider this. All that careful planning completely falls apart if we can't accurately validate the data at the end of the period. Like, how do we securely lock all this activity down so the business knows exactly where it stands? Well, that is the critical process we're going to cover next in Module 06, Month-End Cash Close. I seriously can't wait to dive into that one with you next time. See you there.